Breaking news tonight, the Justice Department has released a blistering report on the Ferguson Police Department, citing a pattern of racial bias and excessive force. Just weeks after Michael Brown's death, Attorney General Holder opened a broader investigation into practices by Ferguson Police.
I had the chance to speak with a number of local residents. I heard from them directly about the deep mistrust that has taken hold between law enforcement officials and members of that community. We have determined that there is cause for the Justice Department to open an investigation.
That investigation has found repeated, deep-seated evidence of racial bias by the police. The numbers the Justice Department uncovered are stunning. African Americans make up 67% of the Ferguson population. Keep that number in mind, 67%. But blacks make up 85% of vehicle stops, 93% of arrests, 88% of documented use of force incidents, and 95% of people who were jailed for more than 2 days. Look at these numbers. Investigators even found blacks were bitten by police dogs disproportionately. This bias also shows itself in other ways. Investigators found Ferguson has a pattern of putting revenue over public safety by collecting thousands of dollars in fines on those living in or near poverty and frequently jailing people on minor offenses. And maybe most disturbing of all is the overt racism investigators found in emails by Ferguson officials on city email accounts, including racist jokes that reference President Barack Obama. Justice Department representatives met with Ferguson city officials today. They received a copy of the report and will respond tomorrow. The question now becomes, how do we fix this? What comes next? Joining me now is Patricia Bynes, a Democratic committeewoman for Ferguson Township, and former U.S. Attorney Kendall Coffey. Thank you both for your time tonight.
Thanks for having us, Reverend.
Thank you.
Committeewoman Bynes, you know your community. You've been dealing with this, I know myself, for a long time. What about these findings are a surprise to you?
Well, first, I'm glad that it's validated what the community has been saying ever since August. It makes me angry, though, the depth at which these injustices are taking place. And it's disturbing to actually read the detail, but I'm glad that we have the documentation, so that way no one can say that the community's been exaggerating or blowing anything out of proportion. Now we have to take steps.
Now, Kendall, you know, since August, at the invitation of Brown's family, I have been going in and out of Ferguson, and I've heard this over and over again. But now we have numbers. What will the numbers that are established by the Justice Department, what will they mean, and where can this go now? You're a former U.S. attorney.
Well, what those numbers mean is that the police department simply cannot defend the contentions by the Justice Department that there is a pattern and practice of disparate treatment and abuse. So what's going to come next is an opportunity for the police department in the city to agree to comprehensive reform, to change not just a single event, but to change an entire culture. And to be very clear, if they don't agree to what the Justice Department demands, there is going to be a civil lawsuit before a federal judge that this police department, given the evidence you've talked about, Reverend, a lawsuit that this police department cannot win and can't even defend. So the reforms are going to be comprehensive. They're not going to be go appoint a blue ribbon committee and come back with a report someday. They're going to be 60 to 70 pages of detailed requirements, everything from training and supervision to compliance and community outreach, and all of that will be enforceable by the order of a federal court judge.
Committeewoman, I mentioned some of the statistics. Ferguson is 67% black, but last year in Ferguson, blacks made up 86% of traffic stops, 92% of searches, and 93% of arrests. Even though contraband was less likely to be found on black drivers, 22% versus 34% of white drivers. I mean, this is not even good crime fighting.
This isn't about crime fighting at all. This is about institutional racism. This is about, law enforcement and the municipal courts go hand in hand in deriving revenue. This is about oppressing people and abusing a community. There's nothing about public safety that's taking place. This is an endangerment to the public, this current Ferguson Police Department, and this is what people have been out in the streets talking about since day one.
Now, Committeewoman, as you know, I've been there, and we hear the anger. What will this mean? What will this say to the people in the community now?
Well, a lot of this, we have the validation now. Hearing what the city officials have to say, that is going to play a large part in the response that the community has. How many people are going to want to take responsibility for this? How much of this have they seen and have they looked the other way? So the community response is really going to be waiting on what city officials in Ferguson have to say for themselves about this.
Now, Kendall, one of the disturbing things that I saw in this report is that they found a pattern of a focus on revenue over people. According to the nonprofit Better Together, 25% of Ferguson's budget came from court fees. I mean, what does this say, and how do we deal with that as you talk about changing the culture?
Well, it's one of the things that's going to be targeted in a program of Justice Department imposed reform. Of course, you can't exploit people by taking advantage of traffic stops and citations, all of which are disproportionately impacting upon African Americans, and basically feed your city's budget with that. There are many, many other issues that are going to be part of this extensive, comprehensive set of reforms that the Department of Justice is going to insist on, but that's certainly going to be an important feature as well.
Now, we saw, Committeewoman, they looked at Ferguson, but there are a lot of other communities, surrounding communities, that are just as glaring in a lot of these kinds of disproportionate targeting of blacks, Committeewoman.
Absolutely. That is an unfortunate reality here in the St. Louis region, that this is not just Ferguson. If they were to look at some other municipalities in the St. Louis region, they would probably find similar or even worse offenses than Ferguson. So this is really just the tip of the iceberg here, that many people, when you live in this region, you have to travel throughout all these different municipalities. So this is very real, and Ferguson is just one of the many ones that really need to be looked into, and this issue needs to be dealt with.
Now, Kendall, I mentioned the email about President Obama. Investigators also found an email that referred to a refund a black woman received for an abortion as a credit from Crime Stoppers. I mean, Kendall, do you expect any firings or resignations over emails like this?
Absolutely. I think there are going to be firings. I think there's going to be change. And frankly, I think the senior management of that police department has a lot of explaining to do, and I don't know that they'll be able to come up with answers.
Well, I think the report will be out. We'll see what the city officials say tomorrow. Many people in that community that have been raising their voice, asking for a fair investigation and saying what the conditions were. The numbers speak for themselves. Many that came in like me were castigated. The numbers speak for themselves. Now let's deal with how do we go from here and make it different. Patricia Bynes, the committee woman, Kendall Coffey, thank you for your time tonight.